Last time on Shadow Piece, the Strawhat Pirates and Sanji went to the arena after having a casual breakfast and talking about potential plans. The blonde cook, however, couldn't come up with anything special, so everybody quieted down and just hoped for the best. It is a sunny day, perfect for such a big event. So after having a small chat with his opponent and discovering his new hearing impairment, everything is about to get started. One more advantage for the cook from the east. All that was left was to go through the check-in against the rule-breaking objects. And with that behind us, King Odin stood up and clapped his hands to officially start the final fight between the Sin of Pride Hyrodine and the sweet cook Sanji. Just like in the other fights, the blonde human activates his Azure Pudding Inferno, and to fully make use of his abilities, he equips his raid suit and turns invisible. Against Magnus, his invisibility was perfect because of their roleplay, and this time against Hyrodine, he will make full use of his ear problems. The tough giant, however, also has some stuff he can use in this battle. Most importantly, the skill that didn't get to be used against Prince Loki. This one might appear today. Hyrodine has always been more proficient in armament haki compared to observation haki, so finding Sanji proves to be quite difficult and leaves him open for multiple attacks all across his body. This is bad. It can't continue like this, or the member of the Fleet of Death will suffer a quick defeat. He really should have focused on a more balanced haki training. But especially with the lessons from the Samurai of Wano, his armament haki just kept on advancing and left his observation behind. Looking at Sanji's stat spread, he actually is an all-rounder, when it comes to haki especially so, but when it comes specifically to physical stats, he really is leaning heavily into the speed department. Kick after kick, Hyrodine tries to counter-attack, but it is for naught. He just is not capable of keeping up with his opponent. Maybe after the last battle yesterday, the Germa Stealth Black unconsciously awakened the heart of an entertainer. What that means is that every time he attacks, he undoes his invisibility just for a second, so that even the spectators without observation haki can see him landing his attacks. The crowd loves this fighting style, and cheers for Sanji fill the arena, so loudly that even the captain of the new giant warrior pirates can hear them. His best bet to change the flow of battle is to enter a rampage with massive destruction. Not even aiming specifically at the blonde fighter, just obliterating parts of the arena to spread rubble all across and maybe deal a bit of damage as well while he's at it. Like a monster, he demolishes parts of the arena, and it works in the exact way he hoped for it to do. With all of the dust, even if you are invisible, you still move things around when you move through them. So now Hyrodine only has to use his eyes to spot where movement is going on. Even so, the fighting cook is not stupid enough to miss what is going on here, so he picks up his own pace as well in response to the tactic used by his foe. Rush attacks fly through the battlefield and continue to chip away at the giant's stamina, but he isn't as overwhelmed as before. Some of the attacks get blocked, and from time to time a counter gets thrown out. Sanji is still in control of the battle, but with his opponent's impressive strength, he can't allow himself to slip up. Every step has to be taken very carefully, but still at a speed so fast that Hyrodine is not able to catch up. Azure flames burning brightly with an invisible coating over them. The flames are the part the people of Elbaf like the most about Sanji's fighting style, so only seeing them for a very short moment is slightly disappointing but still exciting. And then it happens. During the next approach for a kick, Hyrodine spots it in time. The Charlotte husband is already in motion, so he can't stop and reposition, which ultimately leads to the first clash of this battle. Neither side is giving the other anything to work with, and in a head-on power struggle like this, it's obvious who comes out on top. The fist of the Sin of Pride pushes through and sends Stealth Black flying backwards. The damage of this hit might not have been all that high, as a lot of the force got equalized and disappeared during the clash, and yet the flow of the battle changed completely because of this one single moment. One exchange can change everything, and Hyrodine is finally getting a grasp on Sanji's movements. He may not be as fast, but he doesn't need to be to win this tournament. He still gets hit a lot, but from time to time, clashes like the one earlier happen, and he can deal damage to his human rival. A clean hit would undeniably be better, but something is still missing for that. Something important is needed for Hyrodine to win, but the cook won't give him the time necessary to find it. Still unfinished and incomplete, but this technique should further push Sanji's advantage. sprinting around his target, the audience knows what is about to come. But Hyrin was unconscious for it, and the description of his crew members were, let's say, a bit lacking. This time Sanji has a bit more confidence left. Against Magnus, just setting up the basic tornado omelette was hard enough, so right now he is going the extra mile. The world government Scappo, or as Sanji calls it, Skywalk. Not only is he circling the ground, but he adds more flames to higher parts as well by spiraling through the air around the giant juggernaut. An even fiercer fire vortex gets created and swirls around Hyrin's body. This attack for sure damaged him a lot, but considering the toughness of this guy, he won't lose because of a bit of heat. He approaches the tornado, awaiting the giant to break free and then start a combo attack instantly to increase the damage even more. The flames continue to burn for a minute, then 2, and then 5. And only after 10 minutes of continuous fire damage, the Sin of Pride starts to move again. It is not that Sanji was careless, he 100% saw correctly that he was on the backside of his opponent. But in the split second in which the flames disappeared, the last giant participant spun around 180 degrees and punched directly at the small human. A massive hit with his fist smacked right on the body. The battle couldn't be more uneven. One side needs thousands of hits to bring down their enemy, and the other might need only a few dozen. Not every story is made to be equal, and Sanji's genetically enhanced skeleton feels exactly that. The few clashes from today, the small amount of devastating hits from Magnus yesterday, and now this one clean strike from Hyrin. All of his bones are shaking, and without a doubt, some of them are already cracked. Completely recovering from this tournament will take a while, that's for sure. His footing is unstable after the hits. Without thinking and looking, he runs forward to close the distance again. However, when he actually looks ahead of him, Hyrin is nowhere to be seen, but logically thinking, there can only be one place he can go to. Sanji looks up into the sky, and all he can see are the fists. The gigantic fists of his opponent as they race down on him. There is no time to dodge or raise up his leg to counter. All he can do is bring up Armament Haki on top of his stealth black suit to decrease the amount of damage he will receive. Crash! The ground shatters from the sledgehammer-like attack, and Hyrin instantly follows up with another Gatling attack. Unlike in his last battle against Eric, the student of the Dark Messiah didn't get crumpled into a tiny form, so he can kick like his life depends on it to go strike for strike against the giant. Both attack series are not built to defend or to balance out the attacks of the other side. Both of them just want to do as much damage as possible to the other contender. A slugfest like this is what the Elbafian warriors love. For every one hit that goes onto Sanji's body, Hyrin has to suffer from over 10 different kicks. Keeping this going for much longer is only to the benefit of the giant tank, so the only thing our human representative can do is gather some distance and plan something different. At the beginning of the fight, he didn't want to give the Sin of Pride any space to prepare big attacks, but now that changed. Being able to improvise in combat is an important ability to survive on a battlefield, and Sanji got a neat idea that can really expand his attack pool. Silence spreads across the arena floor for a bit. Hyrin is carefully watching the human. Just going in without knowing anything about his opponent's next step can only go bad. His leg raised into the air, the Charlotte husband is controlling his own movement very precisely before kicking into the air. At first, nothing happens. It is not like he can stretch to kick the giant from where he is standing. And unlike sword fighters, he can't send out beam slashes either, so what is he doing? Quick kick after kick, until the blue flames have enveloped his entire leg and not only the part up to his ankle. And then he reveals his new improvised technique. The name might still need some work, but let's just go with it. Take this! Barbecue! Shots! Once more he kicks the air with his Azure Pudding Inferno, and this time shots of fire get sent towards the position of the giant. They missed him by a bit, and yet seeing fire projectiles took him by surprise. He can't stay away from the cook any longer to recover, but approaching while a hail of fire shot gets aimed at him is also difficult. It's getting hot in the final of the Winter Solstice Festival tournament. With Sanji's new fighting technique, he is pulling the favor of the battle back on his side, but Hyrin also won't give up without a fight. Return next week to see how this Shadow Piece battle continues, because this is the end of today's episode of Shadow Piece. I hope you enjoyed it. Now Sanji also has ranged technique up his arsenal. A very good addition to all of his kicking techniques. But Hyrdine, we all know that he still is hiding a few things as well. So I wonder how things are going to turn out and who is going to be the winner of all of this. But that's all from me for today. All that's left to be said is stay happy, stay healthy, and most importantly, stay cultured. Pyro, out. Bye!